Hello, everyone, and welcome to So Many Games All the Time, the podcast where Evangelos and I talk about board games. Today, we'll be talking about our weekly topic. This time, will be video game IPs, whether they've been done well or badly, how they've been handled. And after that, we'll have our top 5 each, so I guess it adds up to a top 10 of video games that we want to see be turned into board games. And then finally, we'll talk about the video games that we're actually playing. So this one's a little bit longer and is the last one of this 4-part podcast. And starting from podcast number 5, episode number 5, we're going to do things a little bit differently, but you'll see that next time. Okay, enjoy. Basically, we're going to talk about who did it well, who did it badly, and then in the end, which games that we want to see adapted from the video games.
Yes.
So, do you have any good or bad examples that you want to start off with?
Well, I was thinking. I remember when I first got into the hobby, we always used to roll our eyes when someone said, "Oh, this game's based on this video game,"
Yeah,
because we automatically assumed it sucked.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Like back in the day, remember? Okay, besides, you always get the video game version of Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
You still get them now, right? The Monopoly or the Risk.
The irony is now that the video game version of Monopoly is more fun than the board game version because it had all the effects and it
doesn't say much, but you get you get all the different types of video games on there, like Warcraft, Monopoly, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, like that, yeah.
And they got the stills from the game. We as gamers, we all hate stills.
Like Legendary using the stills of the Spider-Man, Marvel Legendary.
Awful, right?
Yeah.
Things like that, right? But exactly. I think the first game they really made, well, the ones that maybe I wish I could get the chance to take, because it came out before I was in the hobby, but it was the StarCraft one and the Warcraft one.
Mm-hmm.
You've ever seen those ones by Fantasy Flight?
Yeah, but the StarCraft one wasn't that bad, right?
I haven't played it. No? But I think what happened was they were just these huge boxes, and they were just, I think it was just very dense and very over the top. I think it was just at that stage of the board gaming when people hadn't streamlined rules that well.
If StarCraft and Warcraft would come out now in the typical Kickstarter or GameFound way that they do it now, it would break the bank for sure.
I think it's the biggest problem then, and maybe even now, is how do you try to relay the game in the video game aspect, or what makes the video game fun, into a board game. I think that transition is really difficult.
Because
to be faithful to the game and faithful to the new genre.
Because, for example, with Gloomhaven, they say that Gloomhaven wanted to be a video game, but on your board table.
Yes.
On your table, basically. But then, once again, the irony is that now many people prefer Gloomhaven, the video game, over the actual board game because it's a lot more fluent. But everything you do in Gloomhaven, the board game, is like typical video game stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the first game that I really played was, I think we played together, XCOM.
Yeah.
What did you think of the XCOM one? Did you like it?
Yeah, because of course I sold it, but it was a long time ago because I had to sell, because I had to call it removal or whatever. But I really liked it, but it didn't feel like the video game.
No, not at all. It was a different type of game, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it's just more like, oh, we gotta do all this, but it's when you're playing the video game, you're not like, oh, you're just. XCOM, the video game, the board game would be, you go out on missions, you do it, you come back, you upgrade some stuff, research some stuff, you go out on another mission.
That's the question I was asking now. That's what I was asking. Do we want the board game to try to imitate what the video game does, or does what XCOM did was try to reimagine it in a different way? Okay. Do we want it to be loyal to the game, or do we mind it taking it to different avenues?
I think the board game should only replicate the video game if the board game believes that it can do it slightly better, or at least at the same level. For example, with XCOM, you can have like a book with stories or whatever, and that would give it more flavor or whatever.
Basically, XCOM is it's a dungeon crawler. It could be a simple dungeon crawler.
Yeah, exactly. But then, of course, things that you can't do is like customize your people as much as you could in the video game or whatever.
What do you
I
do?
mean,
You
you
get
can't do.
cards. Of course you can with cards.
No,
Upgrade.
I mean the miniatures. You
Oh,
know.
the miniatures, fair enough.
Yeah,
But usually, it's like with zombie side, you have your pack and your
yeah,
cards.
yeah.
And that.
But like some things is like, for example, you shouldn't try to replicate the percentage of shooting or whatever. I don't know, you know. But like for example, XCOM had the thing like if you lose your team members, it really hurts. Now
Yes.
that's something you could replicate in a board game as well, right?
Mm.
Um, so I do think it is possible. Other games they don't really. The problem is, I think that that's the one thing that we definitely don't like as much is that they use the IP to put it on the box, but then in the box has nothing to do with the game. So it always needs to have some. You always need to be able to connect both of them. Like for example, The Witcher Old World. When you described the game to me, and when I saw the Kickstarter page, I was like, "This is only fighting monsters. I don't feel this is part of The Witcher, but it's not what I want in a Witcher game." In the end, we played it, and I felt it had enough story elements to warrant it, so I bought it as well. But in the beginning, I felt this is not what I want. But then again, yeah, I agree it has to stay loyal, but it can't be loyal all across the line because it still has to work.
But see, the other thing is also sometimes I don't know. Like I know you backed it, so the Street Fighter games.
No, I didn't back it.
Didn't you back it?
I backed out of it.
Okay.
It was too similar to games I already had, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to spend all the money for a reskin. And that did not feel to me like a Street Fighter game as much because
Can it feel like a Street Fighter game, right?
yeah, because it had like rolling dice and everything. But
Mm.
in a Street Fighter game, you have full control of your moves. When you roll dice, you don't have full control of your moves. Like I would have seen it more like a Street Master game where you have the cards in your hand and you can decide how you combo, what you do, and so on. You still have the roll dice there, I guess. I guess it's similar. What I mean is, I would remove all the dice and have some other system and fight other people, like tournament style or whatever. Like more like
Because I think because for me, like I think what happens is like I think there's two problems. Like either it becomes too simple, like just rolling dice, and then it kind of loses the dynamism of the game.
yeah.
And the other one is like with one of your favorite games, Universal. What's it called?
Europa Universalis.
Well, where it becomes way too complicated to try and imitate the game. It becomes incredibly fiddly and incredibly complex, and
Yeah.
and that is to try to create to be loyal to the game does it almost hinder the board game because it becomes so many moving parts to try and imitate what the game can do easily electronically.
I
You see what
think
I'm saying with that, right?
yeah. But I think even though Europa Universalis is complicated and fiddly, it still offers a chance for you and a couple of other people to join together and play and finish. While even if you played a video game, it's going to take you more than one evening to finish normally, because but while with the board game it's more condensed, and even now in all its complexity and everything, people are still asking, we want more. We want more countries. You want more this. We want more that, and so on.
It's intimidating. It's incredibly intimidating.
Yeah, but then I think it's the same thing as like TI4. Once you know how to play, and that goes for every board game, it works. But it is very intimidating. I know. I mean, I made several videos, and I was supposed to continue, but I mean,
Actually, it's lovely. The original Civilization. Remember the one we loved?
yeah.
One before this one, current one.
That feels like the video game. I feel
that one felt like the video game, and it wasn't too complex either.
No. Some of them really, like for example, the Witcher takes one part of it and then tries to do it as good as it can, and then add some stuff on the side. Like the Witcher, the adventure game, also has like a lot of like if you only look at the cards for what you need to do, but you don't read any of the flavor, then it loses everything.
Yeah.
But if you really read what you're supposed to do, and then it all makes sense, but then you need to go through the trouble to actually make it make sense, basically. And many people will not. Oh, I need 2 purple ones. Okay, whatever. So I think like another example that I wrote down is 11. Like 11 wants to be a football manager, and it does the managing part, I feel, well, but then the match engine, to me, it doesn't. That's why I sold it. Like for me, it fell flat in that area. So I think we had like an argument about that before a little bit. Like either you focus on the match.
We did argue. We agreed on it, I think.
Yeah, but we never made a video.
Yeah, but I remember when we did the most anticipated game, I was saying I'm worried that they won't be able to. It will be trying to do two different things at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what people want, right? I mean,
I'd want 1,000 decks.
Yeah,
in the football manager game, I wouldn't mind the complexity of Europa in that game.
Can you imagine when you start a game in Football Manager, you choose the size of the database, and then the board game, do you want 4 boxes or 8 boxes of players?
Take all 8.
Shuffle all of them.
Because I don't want a watered down version of the game. I don't want the dice chucking Street Fighter game. I want that complexity.
But I think Street Fighter in itself is too simple to turn into a board game. For example, Borderlands, the board game, I've never played it, but what I saw from it didn't show me what I wanted. For Borderlands, I want to basically have a loot crazy game with
which is what the game is, right? Yeah, which is what the game is.
Yeah, with a lot of like fun, crazy adventures. So you need to have like some kind of storybook that goes along with it to get you into the theme, and also nice miniatures and just all that combined. And when I saw what the board game looked like, I was like, ugh.
But did you like Fallout then?
Fallout I liked because it was basic, but it tried to. You have the biggest storylines in Fallout are in the game. You have the miniatures like Mr. Handy and everything else, the ghoul and everything. You have those. The only thing that felt a bit off was the combat system, like the bad guys following you from all across the map, even though they technically can't see you. You're like, okay, I'm going to move to the left, or everybody moves to the left as well. Like, what? That was a bit weird. But you are going around the wasteland. You are pulling these story cards and everything that push you in a certain direction. So yeah, that felt more like Fallout, playing Fallout. Yeah.
Another thing we can talk about is how sometimes a game's not based on IP, but you can see it's about the IP. Like for example, the game like Sanctum.
Yes, I wrote that down.
Diablo.
Sanctum, yeah, I wrote that down.
Based on Diablo, and what's the other one? I can't think of the name. I've gone blank. The one that's based on like Quake.
I don't know that.
Did we not play it?
Yeah. The Adrenaline.
Adrenaline, that's the name. Yeah. Which is like a Euro game. Which is like it's such a wacky theme, right? A wacky way of doing it, and it's so clever. Do
Adrenaline again and call it Unreal Tournament or Quake or anything like those shooters, and it's going to break bank again as well if it's one of the bigger production companies to do it.
Exactly. But what I'm trying to get at there is they took a totally out there a different mechanic you wouldn't have anticipated, which because that's basically an area control game in which you're doing area control on each other.
Yeah.
Because remember when you die. Yeah. And you spawn, the person who's got the most hits on you gets points, right?
Yeah.
It feels like an area control. And it's just a unique mechanic that it's not trying to imitate the game, but but at the same time, it has the essence of the game. Does it make sense? It kind of makes sense.
But in a way, it does make sense. But in a way, it does mimic the game a bit because you also have to run around to get ammunition, to get new weapons and everything.
But even the weapons, like the bullets on the weapon, is just basically resource management.
Yeah, and you can't miss.
Yeah, you can't miss, right? But it's just you control them. It's resource management where you want to do your resources, which gun you put on, and it's just a straightforward Euro mechanics. But it just feels right. It's just one of those. It's one of the most interesting adaptations of a game.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because it would have been so much easier to make the Unreal game with, again, just chucking dice.
But then I've never played Sanctum, but I've thought about buying it many times. And every time when I think about buying it and I read up on it again, I always don't buy it because I always read the same things, that it's really fun up until the end. Because in the end, it's too difficult or whatever, or the difficulty scaling is all off the charts. And actually, when I look at the boards and everything, just like a regular Diablo, I want to have tons of loot. I want to be able to physically see the change. Like, for example, that's why I like Euthia. Oh my God, I almost forgot the name of my number one. Euthia so much because you can see on your board how your character is changing, right? And that in a Diablo game, that would be awesome. Like even now with Marvel Zombies, when your heroes are getting really strong, you can kill a ton of zombies in one move. And it's like, wow, that's basically what Diablo should be as well as you move on. And yeah, so that's why I haven't bought Sanctum, because I know I'm going to get disappointed if I play it, because it's not exactly what I want. It's in the right direction. It has all the mana and the health and all that kind of stuff, but not.
It's interesting. It's for both Sanctum and with Adrenaline. They're not trying to imitate the video game, but they are still faithful to the feel of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think that's why maybe they're all kind of successful that way.
Yeah. I think
another game also like Sniper Elite, which I got over here. That's also a really interesting way of adapting. They just took the concept of the game and they put it into a hidden movement. So it's two different genres, right? So Sniper Elite's one type of game on the video game. Board games have these one versus many hidden movement games, and just seem to work. That genre seems to work in the video game, in the board game space. So it's an interesting transition.
Yeah, it is. And there's another one that I wanted to mention because that really felt to me as playing XCOM, the board game, that I thought like, okay, this one I actually think is has potential to being what we want, even though the Kickstarter page didn't look that fantastic, but I did do a preview and everything. That's Earth Under Siege Flashpoint, right? And that I have really high hopes for, because once again, it's not XCOM, but it's XCOM. So hopefully that'll work out. Yeah.
For me, one of the best actually was Frostpunk.
Yeah.
And also that War Mine, actually. That's another one.
Yeah. So some really do hit that mark, but yeah, you've got tons of others, right, that were then done, and then they're just like Monster Hunter. Is that any good? Because I heard about it, but then same with
that's another thing. Like that game, or like the Resident Evil ones, I'm hesitant to back them because you don't know how much of the game is actually a good mechanical game or just a cash grab with the IP. And that's again unfair. It's unfair to just automatically assume that, right? Or
it becomes a pure cash grab just for the money, like Darkest Dungeons and everything. And then
definitely Darkest Dungeons did have a really good system behind it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Mythic Games taking the money.
Mythic Games, yeah, that's just bad management. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes when I see a game based on a video game IP, automatically I'm hesitant. Like, I'm not interested.
It's like movies based on video games.
Yes, you're automatically skeptical. Like I said, like the Resident Evil games, I don't know, they're probably great, but
although
I don't trust them.
Dungeons and Dragons, the movie, really good. I even bought the Blu-ray. That's how good I thought it was. Anyway, also very quickly, I wrote down Baldur's Gate as a disappointment because we had Pillars of Eternity. Basically, they made Baldur's Gate clone, and then they made the board game. Yes, and that was one of my first Kickstarters, and I thought it was so disappointing because I expected like stories and everything, and it's just like this weird bag builder where you pull out stuff, and the stuff that you don't choose, you pass on to the next person.
So yeah, that's some crappy game that they just slapped the IP on top of it.
Yeah, and then a bunch of pictures from the game and everything that's
exactly what we were talking about in the beginning. That's
but then again, I didn't want to say that's going into the top 10, but I didn't want to say I want Baldur's Gate to be one of of those top 10 because there's already so many that could be Baldur's Gate. There's already so many dungeon crawlers that could be seen as that. So whatever. But yeah, let's go into the top 10. Actually, it's a double top 5, right?
Yes.
I just have names. I didn't really rank them. as into what
Me
should
too. I'm trying to work out which order I'm putting them in, but I can
and I
try.
have 6 of them instead of 5. let's just not do numbers. Let's just say
I've
them
got a
one by
few here.
one.
I got a few here, but I'll try and get the ones I want more. Okay, so you want to go for your number 6 then?
Yeah, but like I said, it's in no specific
Or
order.
just choose one. Just choose yeah.
Okay, yeah. The first one is the Near Automata world. Does it ring a bell? It has multiple games in that universe where you're like Earth is now all has robots, and the humans come from space down to try to take over the Earth and everything. And you're like, is it A1 or B1? I forgot. I played the game a while ago, but this video game in itself is special because you finish the game, and then you're supposed to finish the game again, and then again, and then the game is completely finished. Because every time you finish, you restart the game, the story continues.
Okay.
In a different way, and it has really cool robots. It is basically a slasher, but also with upgrades. Feels a bit JRPG, but you're still moving around and everything. Very cool soundtrack, cool locations, very active. And how I would see it in a board game is, once again, the stories. For example, some of these robots that are down there, they're all very basic, but some of them start to get feelings or think that they are humans or something. They start to act differently. Some of them even get religious and everything, which is hilarious to see a bunch of robots go like, oh, but whatever. Mm-hmm. So the game itself is really good, I found. Even though I only finished it once, I watched the other endings on YouTube because, so little time. But yeah, all of that on a board game, I think that would really cool because, once again, you have all the minis that you can not necessarily fight, but have adventures with, companions and so on, stories, the looks. I don't exactly know how the mechanics specifically would work, but if they would say tomorrow, oh, we're making that, I'll be like, oh, take my money, because I'd be instantly motivated to dive into that world for sure, because they have multiple games as well in that world. So yeah, there's Nier Automata basically.
My number 6 would be Max Payne.
Oh yeah,
and I was thinking of something like because I really like the game, and I was thinking because there was a game that came out called Vendetta back in the day, a few years ago. And did you ever play it? I never played. No,
I know what you're talking about, but no.
An idea that you one character, and then there's like tons of bad guys to go through room by room, right?
Yeah.
But there was just a lot of dice chucking.
Ah, you mean the board game Vengeance?
Sorry, not Vendetta. Vengeance.
I have it. Yeah, I have it. I haven't played it yet. Yeah. I have the roll and write as well. I have both. Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of thing, right? I like that game, but maybe with more interesting mechanics than just dice.
Yes, of course.
Because I think that game, the concept of the game is so awesome, because you even have the period which you build yourself up, right? You prepare yourself.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea of a Max Payne game like that. Go into a room, just taking out all the, basically like a John Woo movie, right?
When you activate the slow motion, you slow motion play.
That kind of thing, right? But with more Euro mechanics, more interesting mechanics. And also it'd be a cool first a solo game like that.
Yeah, and worker placement.
And worker placement. I don't know. I always, if you can find placement, I'm happy for that too. But I really like the concept idea of Vengeance. But I found I looked when I never played it, but just a lot of dice.
It's basically Man on Fire, right? If you don't know Max Payne, same thing.
Exactly.
And other stuff.
I think Max Payne would have been cool. Would be a cool theme for a game.
And it has the potential to be a trilogy.
Yeah, the third one was awesome.
And you can play it on your phone now. By the way, they've turned into a mobile phone game now as well. The original Max Paynes, you can download it.
Yeah, I saw the Max Payne, not the third one though.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Okay. Next one that also my number 5 is The Secret World. Do you know that?
Yeah.
It's an MMO RPG where you create your character. You're part of one of the 3 houses, whatever. I forgot them. One is like more Asian, one is more Western, whatever. But the world that you're in is a mix of the normal world combined with mythology of the different parts of the different world. Like, for example, when you're in England, it's like Cthulhu. People are turning into zombies and everything. And if you're in Egypt, it's more like Egyptian mythology with all the gods there and so on. So what you're doing is basically you're in those locations, but for those games, it has like kind of like an exit game feel. Like one of the missions you had in England, I think, was that you had to decipher Morse code. Like you literally had to get out of the game, go on Google, and then check out certain parts, and then okay, you have to go there. Or basically, it's like puzzles, but also action, and also like just talking and stories. It was all pretty cool. But yeah, after a while, it kind of lost the fan base a bit because it was, I think, too experimental. But just the fact that you're using all that mythology, putting it in the daily world, and then of course you as a character create more special abilities, like almost superhuman. You can fireballs or whatever as you progress and get experience. But yeah, just all those legit difficult puzzles, the stories that are in there, building up your character, you never really knowing what's gonna come next, and then the different worlds, which are then of course expansion boxes. So that would be awesome to me. Like one would be Norse mythology, one would be Egyptian, one would be Asian, whatever, and and then of course Illuminati is thrown in and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that game, and I thought it's basically an Awakened Realms game. That's what I would then see. Yeah. That's the Secret World.
Okay. My next game I kind of can put them together, two games together, because I would like to. I'm looking at like something Alone in the Dark or System Shock. It's kind of like a real survival horror solo game. It's like Nemesis, but not so much on action. I don't want too much action in the game.
Like Alan Wake as well.
Alan Wake's a good one, yes. I want a board game which is kind of like a dungeon crawl, but not so much emphasis on the action.
So basically,
the madness. It ultimately still comes down to shooting a lot, right? Shooting Cthulhu. I want there to be this dungeon crawl, but a lot more.
More like, oh god, I only have 2 bullets.
Exactly, that kind of thing, and also a lot more puzzle solving. I would love to have that kind of game, like a dungeon crawl, but not so much emphasis on fighting.
Yeah, and you have the ability to literally run away and actually be able to temporarily be away. Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's a lot more stakes, like you're really scared of dying. So it could also be like a lot. So I wasn't sure, because both the games are kind of saying Alone in the Dark or System Shock. I think they would be the kind of thing, because I love those two games. I love the tense nature of those two games.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be very interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Original Alone in the Dark. So basically, I want a dungeon crawl that's not a lot of action. Just a lot more tense.
Okay, the next one for me is a silly one, number 4. It's Earth Defense Force 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. You know those games, Earth Defense Force?
No.
It's freaking hilarious.
How old are they?
They're pretty recent as well. I think every couple of years they release one. It's, I think, Japanese or whatever, normally, but it's basically your foot soldiers, and then Earth gets attacked by giant spiders and giant frogs and giant whatevers, and you're just firing, going like crazy stuff. So the way I see the board game would just be beer and pretzels, and then gigantic miniatures and everything, and just like even the frogs are space frogs with like huge blasters, and it's just ridicule. Like, you can have like in the game you can even buy a weather balloon or something to distract the aliens, but it has like one of those waifus on it. But it's really silly, but a lot of people love it. Like I like playing it like on the sofa with my friend, together. So yeah, I think that'd be really cool, just because of all the miniatures and the silliness that you would have, and once again a lot of loot as well, different kind of weapons, and it's not necessarily easy because we had to redo a lot of the missions as well. I think that's more just for the fun of it, because just like a really hilarious shooter, like how would you make it hilarious might be a good question, but yeah, I don't know. It's just
just goofy fun, right? Okay.
Yeah. Just like Yeah, because you have a lot of like team-based fighting, but it's always quite serious, nothing
Okay.
like with goofy skills of whatever. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. My next one, actually, because one of the games I'm most anticipated is the new Cyberpunk game that's coming out from Simon, right? But
Yeah.
but it's an area control game. It's not
Mhm.
really the Cyberpunk game I'm playing. So the game I was so I don't want to say Cyberpunk is really a game coming out for that. So I'll go for the original one, which is DX,
Deus Ex. Yeah.
Deus Ex,
Yeah.
which was a great game. And Cyberpunk's basically the extension of that game, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a board game based on that. Again, it could where you get to upgrade your character, get to modifications, go on missions, deep storyline,
Multiple ways to complete your mission.
multiple missions. So again, there's like this kind of game will probably be like a dungeon crawler game, kind of that kind of concept. But the idea is that there's heavy puzzle based, heavy narrative, and a lot of customization of your character. The kind of thing I would want Cyberpunk to be a game to be as well.
Yeah, and also different endings because with Deus Ex, you always have who you support and whatever.
Exactly. And I think that would make a really good board game if they could get that narrative into the game.
No, I totally agree.
And
Actually,
and then the customization of your character.
my number 3 is very similar to yours.
Yes,
have you ever played Alpha Protocol?
Yeah, I did actually.
It was kind of a buggy mess at times, but it's lead character Michael Thornton. What is so cool about Michael Thornton is that he can be the world's best spy, beacon of hope, example to everyone, or he can be Michael Thornton, absolute psychopath.
Yeah.
If you type into YouTube Alpha Protocol, Michael Thornton psychopath or something, you see every answer, like the worst answer you can possibly do, and it's like, what the? It's so over the top. I'm not saying I want to play a psychopath. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to play a similar game like what you just described, but with such a wide storyline that you can basically, decide what happens. For example, somebody offers you a mission and you can say yes, but then go complete off the rails and then say, oh, I told you to do this and this and this, and you said no, I choose. You know what I mean? That you really the narrative can change so wildly and you can have a crazy playthrough that are like, oh my god, like I didn't expect that. Because I'm telling you, everybody, if you check it on YouTube, that's hilarious. I cannot watch that video at school because I'm it's just that they wrote this, that they put all of this stuff in the game is like, wow. And, props that you guys did it. Too bad the game was a buggy mess, but somebody did their full diligence to get everything out. But yeah, okay. Thanks.
My number 3, I'm not 100% sure what genre game I want, but I want a game based in the Secret of Monkey Island universe. Like, for example, like Jamaica in some ways is Monkey Island. So many games are copying the Monkey Island feel, which is this zany Caribbean type setting, this cartoony feel. It's the light-hearted, and I just want the original because it's got that vibe, it's got the characters. I want to play in that world.
And important to mention the original, because the new version they changed the arts.
Yeah, I don't like the new one. No. But then again, the third one, I wouldn't mind the what's it called? The Curse of Monkey Island. That was also very good. The graphics of that one as well. So I just think a game, it could be an adventure game. It could be anything. I don't mind. I want a game in that world. Even
could even be like some kind of like exits or escape kind of game, as long as it has enough really good narrative and you feel like you're actually playing. Then you could actually tap into
the puzzle because you can imitate the whole point and click puzzle solving. But I said like it's a world that so many games copy. Like I said, Jamaica basically is Monkey Island.
What your detective games, the QR codes and everything, that would be perfect.
Okay.
Because then you can combine stuff.
Because I didn't want to get too much because there were so many of these. I used to love playing point and click adventures back in the day.
Same.
The Sierra games and like another one I was thinking of putting this was Gabriel Knight, which was my favorite series.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Dark Quarter is going to be. That which we're talking about the scanning, the new game, which is set in New Orleans, just like Gabriel Knight was. Adventure, set in the same dark universe with a supernatural background.
Well, the last adventure games that I played, and they're regularly on sale on Steam, is the Blackwell Legacy.
Yes, those are great games too.
All of those, yeah. They were on my short list, but I removed them.
Really? So for me, I could say any point-and-click adventure game.
Yeah.
I thought Monkey Island was the one that was most recognizable and people loved the most.
Well, in that case, I will change my number 1 to number 2 because it's also point and click, and it's the same studio, but for me it was Grim Fandango.
Grim Fandango was a great game.
Because that whole world...
How would you do it then? Oh, the different worlds.
Yeah, the whole world. I mean, I just, honestly, I want to have miniatures of all those characters. They're all so cool to have as a mini and everything. And just come up with some new stories. I don't even... Well, I wouldn't have one the same story, but just come up with some different stories or whatever. Like have Glottis, who is completely mad about cars and everything, and a mini, and I don't know, all that kind of stuff. Hell, just put on Kickstarter, buy minis. That's all I need. No, but just the way that LucasArts always did it, right? All those stories, the way it came out. Yeah, if they put that in stuff like that in board game form, and I think that's also why we're backing stuff like the Isofarian Guard and all those kind of stories that have very heavy narratives, but it always tends to be very serious. We don't have a lot of light-hearted.
That's exactly why I chose the Monkey Island one, right? Because that's just that light-hearted fun. Yeah. You
do have Forgotten Waters, and then it's sequel. There's a sequel. I forgot the name, but there's a sequel now. That is similar and has also let me just check what the sequel is, but
Forgotten Waters is basically a ripoff of Monkey Island.
Yeah, could be.
I'm saying that light-hearted comedic pirate theme.
Because I'm trying to find, of course, Had Games has millions of games. So maybe I can...
it's I know what you're talking about. It's coming out now recently.
Year released. Should be Freelancers, no?
Yes.
Is that one? Is that one, right? Yeah, Freelancers, yeah. So basically it's the next one. Once again, same kind of story. But one big thing that we didn't like as a group with Forgotten Waters is we had one member of our group continuously be lost, so she never had any impact on the story. She always had to choose like the last shitty option or whatever that was available, so she was totally not having fun. But I can imagine if you play solo or whatever, or if it's more mixed, it can be better. I don't know, maybe they fix it with Freelancer, but it's but those games are not made to play solo though, technically, because
I think there's a variant for it.
Yeah, but then originally you're supposed to even Freelancers is 3 to 7 players, so it might have a variant, but it's not made for it, so I'm not sure. With Forgotten Waters, what was that?
So my number
3 to 7.
My number 2, we were talking about one of our favorite games was Western Legends. I want a game, the same thing, open world game, GTA.
Oh, so I thought we were going to say
open world game, huge map of the city. You can do whatever you want. You can go rob, you can go do missions. Basically, you can even say Red Dead Redemption, but then again, it's too similar to
Western Legend. Yeah,
where Bantam Western Legend. I think GTA would be cool.
Yeah, I think it would be more difficult there to with all the potential killing and destruction.
You can tone it how you want it, right? I think it would be cool. Like you could either be law abiding or you can go cunt. But basically, you have all those areas of the map and different types of characters, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to do that.
I think it could even be similar to like you have Tales of the Arabian Nights. Like you could say, okay, you have 20 rounds or whatever. And all across the city, there's missions you can do, stuff, whatever. And by the end of the game, you just add whatever you finish with that turns into points. And then you just see how much you get. I would
say person with the most money wins.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, money like that. So you can go rob the money. You can do missions. You can do bounty hunters.
You can go and get some hot coffee and
anything. Like you go sell things. You can do yoga.
whatever you want. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think an open world board game, and we've seen it being done, like with for example, like with Dead
Because you have very few really open world games like sandbox that can just say like go do whatever you want. And
exactly.
yeah, so that would definitely be awesome. And I think something similar, like just 20 rounds, just do whatever. By then it ends. You know when it ends, do it.
Whoever's got the most points, who's ever got the most money, and it's so easy to say money is points.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to make money.
And by now there are so many GTA games, you can just have all the characters in the game. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to be CJ. Oh, I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to be this guy. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you make the map of the board, the map of the city with all the different zones. It'll
Yeah.
be awesome.
Can
So
even do a
I think
campaign. You unlock Los Santos. Oh, cool.
expansion. You get expansion, right?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
of
yeah.
the vehicles and all that kind. So instead of horses, you have vehicles. I think we're
Vice
perfect.
City. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll be less impressed with my number one, who used to be number two, is Dwarf Fortress. So basically it is if people look it up, they're going to see like, what is this? Because originally it had ASCII art, basically. But then now they made it a little bit prettier. There's like a version on Steam, pre-release or early release still, that looks a bit better. But the reason why it has such bad graphics is because it's has such a big engine. So it's basically all gameplay and not graphics. The cool thing about Grim Fandango, Grim Fandango, Dwarf Fortress is that each of your dwarves has a completely different personality from the next one. And then you have to try to have them work together to create your fortress. And at certain times, your fortress gets attacked and you have to survive. And you can dig deeper and deeper. But as you dig deeper, you might have hell beasts or whatever you might discover there. Your dwarves at one point can go completely, would say they would get inspired, and it means they need certain resources. And if you give it to them, they'll create a masterpiece of something. But if you don't give it to them, they go mad and they might end up killing people or whatever, doing some crazy stuff. Anything you can think of, you can do in the game. And that's just the cool part. You can begin making beer. There's so many options that the whole game has. And when you finish a game, you start a new game. Basically, the fortress you had is kind of like dropped underneath. So if the new fortress starts digging, they can actually find the remnants of the previous fortress. So that all comes back. And then and there's traders coming in, and you can survive so many years, and that kind of stuff. And I guess you can also say you can draw the line to other city builders maybe as well, where you build a city and try to survive, like Banished and so on. But mostly the crazy stories you get from Dwarf Fortress in the board game, that would be really cool. So okay. It's getting late, by the way.
Sounds interesting then.
That's number one, yeah.
My number one would be, I told you one of my favorite games is a hidden movement, one versus many type game.
Yeah.
Like we spoke about earlier on with Beast or like Fear, Jacket, and all those games.
Yeah.
I was thinking something like Commandos. Remember the Commandos game?
Yeah.
Behind enemy lines. But this time you have multiplayer hidden movement in a team. So team-based hidden movement. So one act player would be the sapper, the other one would be the different. So you all have different roles.
Yeah.
So maybe say 2 to 3 players, hidden movement with certain missions involved. Maybe they plan beforehand, and then after that they can't communicate anymore, and they got to do the missions. And then opposite sides, the Nazis, the Germans, trying to stop it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of that, like a hidden movement, a team, but you cannot communicate once you start.
It reminds me a little. It reminds me a little bit about V Commandos, the board game.
Okay, I've never played it.
But then I don't know. It's not in the same way as you say that everybody has their own specific thing and you can't communicate anymore. But it is basically Commandos, the board game, right?
But is it hidden movement?
I think you see, because I never played it.
Okay.
It just says you hide in darkness, wear enemy uniforms, sneak up on your targets, stuff like that. So I think you still you just get all the information from the beginning already.
And is it a team based or one person?
Co-op.
Is it co-op?
It's co-op. 1 to
whole
4
game's
players.
co-op. Yeah, so I wanted to be against another team.
Oh yeah, like yeah, okay, yeah.
The
PvP.
team versus team. So one or two players is the Germans.
Yeah.
Have their thing going.
There's Call of Duty.
You down. Sorry.
Call of Duty.
And then the other team is the commandos. But once they plan, they can't talk. So everyone's got their role. Okay, my job is SAP. I got to go below the bridge. Other one's job is go do this, and then so you're trying to code. You all doing your job at the same time without being able to communicate once you do it. Once you start,
I think for sure you need an app then.
Why?
Because you have to. Because an app would make sure that when you actually encounter someone, they would know, because you can't tell the other team where you are.
No, once you get exposed, then you got to say, okay, there's line of sight, and you you put a token there to say you've been seen.
So one of the teams would be seen at all times.
Yes. The Germans will always be seen. They're hunting you down, right?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, okay. I thought they were both hidden.
But instead of one versus many, was only one person's always hidden. Here you have a team of players who are hidden, and they all do their own separate thing.
I like that idea, but I like my idea as well, where both teams are hidden.
Yeah, that's difficult. That's impossible.
Then you need an app. To say where you are.
Yeah, okay, that's bad.
And then just playing an app game. But yeah, no, I think it's a very good idea.
The whole point of the Germans, they're not supposed to be hidden. They're supposed to walk around.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
So I think that'll be a cool game too.
I hope someone's listening to this and eventually gives us the games that we want.
We should design it ourselves.
That is true. That's also an option. Yeah, for sure.
Any other ones you thought of? We can just touch on.
No, because I had to trim it down, right? So I do not.
I was thinking maybe Hitman would be a cool board game.
Yes, yeah. I think I literally deleted the other ones.
Yes. I think Hitman. I was just thinking, like, again, Hitman Thief, The Lost Vikings. Remember The Lost Vikings?
Yeah.
Again, 4 players doing puzzle-based thing, but each of you have very asymmetric roles that are very unique. So you cannot solve the puzzle, the mission, without totally working together with each other's asymmetric powers.
I think one of the games that I enjoy as well but that's actually already based on deck builders. No, never mind. I was thinking about those games that use deck builders as a thing, but they got it from board games, so it doesn't really matter. No. I think
Legend of Zelda. We need a game based on that.
I wrote down manager games in general. Legend of Zelda for sure as well. Yeah, but then you could argue many games are already copying that a little bit, but just the IP would be amazing. Yeah,
it's the IP. Just set it in the new in the new world, right?
Yeah, for me, I really want to have a good football or
that was number 1
basketball game.
Yeah, I want a Football Manager. Football Manager.
Yeah.
Or good soccer or good football game. Yeah.
But once again, it's so difficult to make. In basketball, it's even more difficult because there's so many stats to track every game. Like, how do you generate that and everything? But if someone ever does it,
I think the Ultimate game, that universe would be awesome.
Yeah.
Ultimate games. Wing Commander would be a cool game too.
Well, look, I wrote down Mass Effect.
Oh, Mass Effect, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Commander is the same thing. Because that was really corny but good at the same time. Wing Commander.
There's something awesome about it, right? Big lion guy and Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Very, yeah.
Well, then again, like they just had a Kickstarter for a board game based on worms.
Yeah, but that was I didn't back that because I thought like
you need that. I'm just saying you can make anything now, board game now.
Yeah, because it funded, right? But I'm like, if you're gonna do that, you might as well play the video game because it's gonna be much more fun because you have the effects, the sound of it. The board game is just gonna be poof, okay, done. Like you move some stuff around. I wasn't there for that. No, I was excited for 1 second until I realized what it would look like. No.
Maybe we start designing our own games now. Take some ideas from this.
Yeah, for sure. for sure. And actually, a decent SimCity game would also be nice. City builder in general.
Surprise hasn't happened yet.
Well, I guess you could say like Suburbia and so on. They're all games that try to get that, but it doesn't
Suburbia,
look like
especially
it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're close to wrapping this up. There was one more thing that I said. What have you been playing digitally, board game or otherwise?
I've been playing Cyberpunk, the new Phantom Liberty expansion.
Uh,
It's so cool.
yeah. I actually can play it now because it mods to PS5, my PS4 version, so I can download the PS5 version. So technically, I could start playing it.
I'm playing it on the Steam Deck.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's good to know. Because I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 on the Steam Deck and the PS5 because I bought it twice. It is amazing. It's brilliant. It is too addictive. It's so good.
Baldur's Gate. Okay.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of 1 and 2 already, and then now 3 came out, which is basically very much along the lines of 1 and 2. But everyone is like, "Wow!" It's like people have reinvented fire or reinvented the wheel. Like 80% of the game is basically what we used to play as kids. But then with all the loot boxes and all that kind of stupid stuff, people have forgotten that. And then now they're like, wow. If you start playing it, you're not going to paint anymore, just so you know.
No, I'm busy playing Cyberpunk. I'm really enjoying that. So
that's next for me.
Yeah. Because what happened when I got Phantom Liberty, I decided to restart.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm starting from the beginning again because it's actually really clever.
Was it very different?
Yes, it's totally. What happens now, usually when you get expansions or DLC, what they call them in video games, they are usually a separate mission you play outside the game, right?
Yeah.
But then what they've done now is that they've integrated those elements of the DLC into the original game.
Oh, like XCOM. XCOM does.
Yeah, so what happens actually, you play the original game, and then at a certain point in the game, the DLC is unlocked and becomes part of the world.
Oh, okay, cool.
No. So it's integrated into the main game. And I thought that was a really clever way of doing it.
Yeah, nice.
So I've restarted it. So I treated my first 10 hours of the game as more like a practice, and I've restarted now, and I'm currently inside the new stuff.
Well, they're already saying that they're gonna create a second one, right? But that's like years away.
They're busy. I think what they're doing next. They're doing a Witcher 1 remake. I heard they're doing that.
Oh, cool.
And so then in the future, they're going to do Cyberpunk 2.
And it's actually good that you haven't started Baldur's Gate 3 yet, because Act 1 is fantastic. 2 is good, but people have been complaining about Act 3 that there's maybe a little bit too many bugs. I mean, people can finish it, it's fine, but there's like more clipping stuff and some stuff that doesn't make sense, But they've been patching it like crazy a lot of times, up to the point where there's a cat that used to be a nude cat, and then there were 2 nude cats. So one of them, they gave them fur, and everyone's like, no! And then they removed the fur again.
I think it's same thing with Cyberpunk. I didn't play in the beginning until it got patched.
Yeah, that's smart, man. But I mean, it's perfectly playable now. Like I've been playing for so many hours. Actually, a glitch on my Steam Deck. According to my Steam Deck, I played more than 200 hours in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Also with my Steam Deck, I hook it to the TV.
Yeah.
I'm in the bedroom.
Yeah, but no, because I only play when I'm moving around with the Steam Deck, when I'm commuting and everything. When I'm home, it's other stuff, channel stuff. Yeah, and aside from that, I've been playing Legends of Runeterra on the phone, on my mobile phone. Basically, it's League of Legends, but then card game, deck builder, and all that kind of stuff. Really cool, really beautiful, really addictive, and it has like a roguelite version where you're trying to unlock stuff and everything. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I was enjoying that until I wasn't. It's just too big, too many missions, too many boring missions.
Yeah, apparently they've walked away from that with the newest version.
Yeah, it's more condensed, just 20-hour game.
Okay, I think we can stop there. We talked for about 2 hours. So I think I'm going to condense it to 4 different podcasts and do part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. I think that's better. And then the only thing that is left for me to say is check the new channel videos. We've got lots of Marvel Zombies. Don't worry, it's not a Marvel Zombies only channel. It's just temporarily. The top 100, do check that so you know what we have on our list. Age of Comics is coming, how to play and a playthrough, and then The Witcher unboxing and other stuff. And next time you'll hear us, we'll be talking about expos. Yes. Spiel, Essen, Simon, Bangkok, what we want to see, what we want to do, what we prepare for. And,
I'm still hoping they're going to announce new things.
Me too. I've been checking, but that's for next 2 weeks. I don't want to talk about that. I'm too long already. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for listening and watching. In the description, you see all the other stuff that you need to know, where you can find us and so on. Do leave comments if you want to or need to, and we'll reply. Okay, so that was it. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Well, this next week we will be taking a break. It's always going to be one Sunday where we record, and then the following week we will upload all the podcasts that we've recorded. Then there's a week break, but in that break week, the Sunday we'll be recording. So if you want to keep up to date with all the other stuff, the videos that we make, social posts and so on, please do check Discord, Instagram, YouTube, and also you can listen to this podcast now basically everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so many of them that I'm forgetting now. But look around and you'll find it. Okay? Have a very nice day, and we'll see you next time for episode 5.